Breaking news. AMD stock is currently up over 27% after signing a deal with OpenAI. Take a listen.
We do have some breaking news right now. I want to get straight to it. It's a new AI partnership, and it is fascinating. AMD's stock is surging. OpenAI and AMD getting together, this after OpenAI, of course, doing a deal just a week and a half ago now with NVIDIA. Kenzie Sagalos has the details on all of it. What's happening here?
So, Andrew, OpenAI is teaming up with AMD in a partnership that could give Sam Altman's startup a 10% stake in the chip maker virtually for free. Now, the rollout starts with 1 gigawatt of AMD's Instinct GPUs in 2026 and expands to 6 gigawatts across multiple hardware generations. Now, as part of this arrangement, OpenAI receives up to 160 million shares of AMD stock through performance-based warrants priced at just 1 cent each, compared to AMD's current trading price of around $165. Now, those shares vest as deployments grow, but both companies are also billing it as a massive win for AMD, which has trailed NVIDIA for years. It's also a clear sign that OpenAI doesn't want to be dependent on just one supplier.
Now, that is a smart move for OpenAI not to depend on only one supplier.
It's all about OpenAI locking in the supply chain that it needs to scale, and it comes within weeks of cutting a $100 billion deal with NVIDIA. It's also in talks to build custom chips with Broadcom, and comes as OpenAI plans a $1 trillion plus infrastructure build out across chips, data centers, and custom silicone. It is a tightly wound circular economy, and one that analysts fear could face real strain if any link in the chain starts to weaken. Guys?
So can we just discuss, this is in many ways the opposite of NVIDIA, when NVIDIA invested effectively in OpenAI. In this instance, OpenAI is getting shares in AMD, but I also imagine OpenAI is going to have to pay for the access to these chips and these data centers that are going to have these chips.
OpenAI using NVIDIA's funds to turn around and fund their competitor?
Hold on. OpenAI is using funds from NVIDIA to purchase AMD chips? That is quite interesting.
Well, so that's an interesting element to it, too. But the question is sort of ultimately, where is all the money going to come from? Because even with the money that it's getting from NVIDIA, for example, by my math, it still doesn't have all of this money.
Yeah, great question. So let's start with how it's going to pay for it. The $100 billion worth of equity that NVIDIA is putting into OpenAI is also pegged to certain build-out milestones being met. It's rolling out in $10 billion increments per gigawatt. Now, that goes into a pool of cash that OpenAI can spend on anything that it wants to. It is not contractually obligated to give it all back to NVIDIA. So, yes, ostensibly, that could also go to AMD to buy their chips. And, yes, they are buying the chips from AMD directly, which is separate to this equity arrangement. Now, in terms of how they're going to pay for it, yes, there is a huge shortfall. Each gigawatt is roughly $50 billion. So $35 billion typically goes to the chip maker. The other $15 billion is roughly what the data center build out requires. Now, to pay for that, I was talking to Sarah Friar 2 weeks ago, and she says that equity is too expensive to hand out. So it's all about debt. And so that $100 billion investment from NVIDIA gives them leverage at the bank because they're not cash flow positive. And Andrew, well, I mean, your entire team has talked to Sam Altman about the fact that he has no intention of becoming profitable anytime soon because his goals are so ambitious, and that requires additional compute build out.
And so where ultimately do you see the money coming from? I mean, I hear you saying it's going to come in the form of debt. We obviously saw, a company like Oracle take on, I think, $17 billion in new debt. We haven't seen classic debt being taken on, right, by like OpenAI, for example.
Not yet. But the other piece of this, I'm going to head pretty soon to Dev Day, which is OpenAI's big event. They're bringing in 1,500 plus developers. And that's another play here for them. Sam Altman is looking to monetize the tech that they have. So last week, they had this e-commerce strategy announced where they're basically cutting deals with merchants to get a portion of transaction revenue. It's starting with Etsy. It's growing to Shopify. But this is an ambition that Sam Altman has talked about for a very long time. He brought Fiji Simo in-house, and she is someone who is just known during her Meta days of being able to turn product into revenue engines. Now, it's not going to look the same as what she did at the social media giant, but she is trying to invent new ways to make money. You saw the the Sora app. It's now #1 in the Apple App Store. This is the video generation software tool, and it's still highly gated, but there's a lot of interest there. Altman specifically said this could also be a good monetization engine, but I brought up Dev Day because ultimately they want more killer apps built on top of OpenAI's bones, because to your point, Andrew, they don't have enough cash. Debt, I mean, they haven't taken on debt yet, and even if they do, that's not going to be enough. But the company is projecting for $120 billion in revenue by 2030, and this is a big part of that strategy.
I mean, that is a staggering amount of market cap gain in AMD. That's over $60 billion.
Now, you might not believe it, but 5 months ago, I did mention to you guys that AMD was bottoming. And once the bulls step in, look for the stock to get to $153 and to $200 per share. Take a listen. Advanced Micro Devices. Now, looking at the weekly time frame, the stock is currently inside of a bullish falling pennant. If you're not familiar with this pattern, it usually plays out with a breakout move towards the upside, as seen right here. Should AMD break and stay above $97, I want you guys to look for a run towards 104 and possibly 112. And like I said earlier, if it breaks below $87, then look for it to come down to $70 per share. Overall, I have a price target for AMD at $153 and at $200 per share. Guys, this was such an easy play, knowing that the AI story was mostly about AMD and Nvidia. So during these pullbacks, all that was required was patience. Now, what also made this play quite easy was the fact that the stock was inside of a bullish pennant, which if I go back in time, you can see exactly how this pattern played out previously. And that was a massive move towards the upside. That said, if you like today's video, go ahead and leave a like, leave a comment so this video can get out to more viewers. Also, if you're currently watching and you are not yet subscribed, do consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.